This one's for the culture. Me and wifey in the room thinking of a master plan, thinking how we can influence the culture from where we stand. Knowing that our steps are ordered by the master's hand, still 10 toes down, we ain't switching up the stance. The mission of this music ain't just to make them dance, trying to tell them about the rock.
And welcome to the latest episode of The Bond Chronicles. We are episode 65, and on this episode we have a very unique take, something you won't be able to find just anywhere on the internet, because everybody on the internet did not go to Something in the Water. Pharrell and friends hosted a concert this past weekend, this Juneteenth weekend, and we have a lot to talk about. So, without further ado, I am here with my host.
This is Bond Chronicles.
And we both attended the festival. I don't know if you can see it, but I got a shirt from one of the pop-ups. I'm going the wrong way. My first takeaway, and then I'll turn it over to you, was I just appreciate Black culture and Blackness. There's a lot of things that we do, and I would say there's a lot of things we do that I don't like. This past weekend, we had a shooting by an artist at a very affluent mall that attracts affluent customers, which, if you guys have been on here, is what I've told you is going to take to get some changes. And just really quickly, I want to read to you what the officer said about this incident. We will find, capture, and hold accountable the persons involved in this melee. This reckless discharging of a firearm, we are going to find them. I promise you that. They will be held accountable, and that's going to happen in short order. And his name, the car he was driving, and everything has been released in a matter of days. Now, we have seen when shootings and things happen or events happen, there is a gross delay on how quickly things come out or how long they take. But that's not what this podcast is about. This is about Something in the Water. But again, Black excellence at its finest in a lot of ways. For me, I can only speak for me. I had a good time. We'll get into the nuances and specifics. We'll rate it. We'll grade it. Give you all the likes and dislikes and all that. But overall, I thought it was an example of what Black people can do together, how they can have a good time, and how they can bring people out and influence all cultures. I've told you time and time again, Black people have huge influence. Hip-hop is music today. And so that was just reiterated for me on a high level. But I will turn it over to you to kind of give you a recap of what you saw for Something in the Water.
My recap? That's real general.
Well, you started with Something in the Water review for your notes. So I was just going to start with what you suggested. You can go in any direction you want, though. I thought that's what we were going to do. We were just going to start with, your high-level takeaway.
I guess high-level takeaway.
Or whatever you want. I'm just going off of what you provided me and whatever you meant by it.
This is what I be talking about, man. But
I thought we were under the same.
It's cool.
All right. As you guys can see, we typically don't discuss these topics with one another before we start for a good reason. This is not the best example of that, but go ahead.
So I guess to put it as simply as possible, I think the saving grace for this festival was the fact that the performers, all the artists, when they did come out on stage, they were really good. I haven't heard anything about any performances that were bad or performances that people didn't really like. The biggest complaint all weekend, honestly, was just logistically. The setup, just so many different things that really kind of ruined the experience of the festival. While we were out there all weekend, I told quite a few people this was their first time, going to a festival. Don't let this one particular experience taint you, because festivals are dope. You can see a lot of music in a very short period of time. There's no live music experience really like going to a festival. Um, so I tried to keep in mind, you know, I tried to give them some grace. It's the second one that they've ever had. Um, just because you want to support us, you want to support the things that we do business wise, culturally, like all of that. So you don't want to. On one hand, I don't want to say, "Oh, I hated it. This is the worst experience I've ever had. Never going again." I want my money back, because it wasn't that, but it definitely wasn't some of the other festivals that I've attended. So it was really difficult trying to rate this without it just being a blistering review of the things that pissed me off.
So we can get more into that later, I guess, because if you have blister takes, tell the people.
Yeah.
So I understand, people that were disappointed. So for me, I will say that I view it a lot higher than I don't know. You said if you were rated, what number grade? What grade would you give it? So I can go off of that.
When after like Friday night on the way home on the train, like they were like D minus by the time we were on our way home. By the end of yesterday, I give them like a C plus.
So by the end of Sunday, you said C plus.
Yeah.
I don't get that, to be honest. I was with you literally almost the entire time. I thought the festival was cool. I think there was a lot to be learned, but I'm grading you on a scale of this is your first time in a new location, and you have you don't know how many people are coming. You don't have any kind of history to really base this off of in your planning. Now, once you start selling tickets, that'll give you a better idea of how many people or wristbands. That'll give you a better idea of what you're looking at. But I think there were a variety of reasons why they picked the location. And I think one of the negatives in the situation is I don't think there was a blueprint really. Like, we have the inauguration where a bunch of people come down to that area. But if you can't get the mall, which by all accounts they couldn't get because there was another festival, I've heard people say Broccoli City early on was not great.
No.
Or it went the other way.
No, Broccoli City the first 3 times was really good.
And how many people do you think was there?
I couldn't guess.
More or less.
About the same.
So,
and they originally started doing Broccoli City at St. Elizabeth, the grounds that hospital was on. And then they switched, when they made the switch from St. Elizabeth to RFK that year, probably, and I say that is probably one of the worst experiences at a festival I've ever had. But again, it was logistically, like there were so many things that someone, planning the festival had just dropped the ball on.
And that's where me and you disagree. I don't think it was as much of a dropping of the ball as it was the way the city is set up. If you want to have a festival of that magnitude in the city, you're going to be limited. Like, if they were going to have it in DC, which I think DC wanted it, I don't think there's a bunch of options where you can have that many people in that kind of proximity moving around in that way. I just don't think that exists, and there's not really a model for it. When you look at Vegas, you look at Miami, you look at New York, you look at Coachella, you look at overseas, a lot of those places have festival cultures continually. They've been able to refine it. They've been able to trial and error it. I heard Bonnaroo made some changes this year, and it was awful. There was one entrance, and people hated it. Like, in this COVID world, in this new world where the cost of stuff is up, where logistically people are trying to maybe save money or cut corners or just work within their confines, I just don't believe for a festival of that size, and I think it will grow if they had, because the Sunday night headliners were big, but they could have been obviously a lot bigger. I just think they did the best with what they have. I would grade it probably a B. Maybe I would say a B. A B is fair. I wouldn't go B plus. But outside of the logistics, I had a blast. I also recognized at a certain point we weren't going to be able to move. I think the losing of the stage sucked, but there weren't a ton of acts that I would have went to see over there. There were a couple that I missed. I think the first day there was a bunch of people late, threw the schedule off, and that was something that was consistent. A consistent theme was not people not being on time, which is Coachella. If you missed your set, you was done. And I appreciated that level of it, but I don't think Pharrell doesn't come off as that kind of person to me. He seems like a very mild-mannered, wants the best kind of individual, so I think he gave people grace. I think he did the best that he could, and I'm optimistic of what's to come. Now, another big part, they need to incorporate some kind of VIP. I don't think any festival, anywhere, should not have a VIP option. Sorry. Like, if you broke or you can't afford it, you can't, and that's fine. But for the people that can, no, I'm not trying to deal with it. So to your point, I think everybody is consistent in logistics was a problem. I just don't know that there were a bunch of better alternatives at this point. And I believe they will find the right people to make the adjustments. I think they've seen the feedback, and the feedback is valid. But to your point of people that would say, oh, this festival is so bad, I would never come back. I would want to know more about what that reasoning was. If it's, I was tired and my feet hurt and there was nowhere to sit, you probably going to find that at a number of different places. And there are places to sit, but you won't be close. And that's, I think, in typical festival, I only have 2 to base it off of, so I'm not super well versed. We have another one coming up. And just from what I've seen, for that lineup, for that price point, for that location, I think I definitely got my money's worth. For 3 days worth of top-notch talent for $400.
But that's what I'm saying. I put the emphasis on if the performers hadn't been good. Like, we'll set aside the fact that most people were late or for whatever reason, the set times were just really, really off. And then even the sound issues that you experienced at the sun stage and the earth stage because of their proximity to each other. And even just the problem with the sun stage, like the sound for that stage the entire time, with the exception of the headliners for each night, the sound was bad most of the day for almost every set.
So I didn't see that. I felt the singers, theirs, Snow was bad. And who was before her?
Tiana Taylor's sound was not good. Chloe and Halle's sound wasn't good. The other.
Chloe and Halle was bad.
Backyard Band's sound was off. Like, there were times throughout the festival at the Sun stage where the sound was just terrible. They couldn't figure out, they kept raising and lowering that one speaker because I guess maybe they couldn't figure out what they were doing with it. That's why I said the performers are what saved this festival. So shout out to all of the artists who came and put on a really good show. But I told you, even like I was talking to a friend who was watching the festival on TV, and I was telling her, I was like, this entire thing is just a whole big mess. And she was like, well, it looks like a mess on TV too. And, that sucks because, like you said, overall, yes, I had a great time, watching the performers. Everything else about the experience, though, within the festival, obviously left a lot to be desired. I've been to Made in America several times, and that setup is similar to what you would think they would do for something in the water. They take over.
No, but it's much wider space.
No, what I'm saying is doing something, going to Made in America is a good blueprint, or looking at the way they set up for Made in America and how they prepare for Made in America is a good way to judge or, base the kind of capabilities that DC has to set up for a large scale festival. I agree with you that there aren't a whole lot of places in DC itself where you can do a festival of that magnitude, but there were definitely, I think, other options, especially given that even though the folk life festival or whatever that was set up for on the mall, there was no festival going on all weekend.
Yeah, but they had the space. You couldn't.
No, I mean, they had the space, but there was nothing going on there all weekend. So I wanted to know, like, what that was about. Like I said, there were a lot of things that I was just super confused about. The fact that they sandwiched the entire festival in 5 blocks, if that, really. More like 3.5, and then it's a 1-lane road. Like, they could have at least picked a road that was, 4 lanes across to give just a little bit more
space. Where
space.
Does that exist in DC?
What do you mean?
In DC?
I've been in DC.
You're not going to shut down Pennsylvania Avenue.
They do, but they have shut down Pennsylvania Avenue for stuff before.
But
they shut it down for a music thing that they had that I went to. It wasn't like a huge festival like Something in the Water, but it was like a DC festival. It was like from Freedom Plaza all the way down to where the FBI building is. They had all of Pennsylvania blocked off. Like
while another festival was going on, because that'll screw some traffic.
No,
up.
Not while another festival is going on.
And it's a holiday weekend.
What I'm saying is there have been other festivals, other things in different parts of DC where they shut that part of DC down to accommodate the festival.
Right. My response to that is, yes, you're right. I'm saying on this holiday weekend, I don't think they can be shutting down a bunch of cities. They had already shut down the mall.
For what?
For whatever that festival was.
But that's what I'm saying. There was no festival going on. The stuff was just there.
So then you can't use it. Whether there's anything going on or not, it's not available. Right. So if you have that blocked off and you're blocking off Pennsylvania Avenue on a holiday weekend when we saw there was a bunch of other stuff going on in DC. Mm-hmm. You could potentially be creating chaos. Where they had the festival, it was really out the way. Independence, for what it's worth, isn't Pennsylvania when it comes to your ability to navigate throughout the city. So that, to me, on a holiday, I think is just problematic. Yes, you're 100% right. If they can get those places, yes, there were a couple better locations. I just don't know that the city was going to play ball to that magnitude for something that's never been here before. And I think that matters in why it was where it was.
I mean, there's a few factors into why they put it where they put it. And, let's just be clear. They let, Pharrell and company have the festival there because they knew how much money they could potentially make. And that's first and foremost when Pharrell presented the opportunity, or, his team, whoever presented the opportunity to Muriel Bowser's office, or whoever they had to start this process with, the first thing, I'm sure that was discussed was how much money they can bring in. They put them there, like, okay, this is the space we'll give y'all to work with. Y'all make it do what it do, and we'll see what we can do for next year. But for them to, again, so the mall was blocked off for whatever reason. That portion of the mall was blocked off. The mall is huge. They could, again, there was all the way up to the Capitol, back down to the reflecting pool. That one little section of the mall, they find you go without it. But there were other parts of the mall that they could have potentially used. Um, but not even just that. Like, fine, you have your setup. This is the space that they've given us to use. We bought tickets, when they first came out or whatever. But up until Friday last week, I would say up until maybe a week before the festival, they're still trying to guess about how many people are coming. But by the week of the festival, you having a solid idea of the number of people that are showing up for the festival. At that point, when was the conversation had, when they were looking at the layout, how they were going to set the festival up, that they came up with the plan that they had? Because the walkway of trying to get between the different stages, and where all the food was and where all the drinks were versus where all the restrooms were, like those massive, like, what were those, like those things that they had, those buildings. Like, UPS paid for them to be there. Like, there again, like, there's so many other ways that they probably could have set even the space that they had up to probably function better than what it did. But instead, you had a stage that people didn't really want to go to because of where it was located. And then if the sound was working really well on another stage, you could hear it and it was interfering with your experience at that other stage. Like, those are the kind of things that start to really take away from an experience at a music festival. Like, you don't want, like, I said, I wanted to see Mariah the Scientist. I really wanted to see her, but I refused to go over, on that street where the stage was, because I didn't like it. But that was the common sense, of a lot of people. One of my girlfriends, she tweeted on she posted on Instagram, the Earth stage is where performances go to die, because you get over there and it was just the worst. But the performers on that stage, when you were able to get to them and see them and enjoy it, the performances were good.
Okay. So we value that, I guess, a little bit different. So as far as like your overall impression of the festival, as far as the events surrounding the festival, how did those play a role in your experience?
I think they were great, like, for the festival experience. I wish we had have had time to go over to the pop-up church service. I haven't seen anything about it on Instagram, or I don't know anyone who went.
Yeah.
So I'll scroll through Instagram to see what I see. But from the names that they were able, that they had, I'm sure it was an amazing time. They had a couple different panels I saw, that discussed, obviously, like Black equity, Black businesses, Black tech business. That we went to the pop up for Pusha T. That was really cool. And so things like that definitely add to the experience when you know where to go to get to them. And, it would have been, I think, cool, especially like the community market, had that been a little bit closer to the actual location of where the festival was. I think it was a little bit too out of the way for us to go to, but I do know that a couple people I know went and they liked, what was available there. I would say, I don't know if I factored that into a lot of my overall grade for the experience of the festival, as I didn't participate in a lot of it. Like I said, we went to the one event, and that was really cool. Everything outside of that was really cool. But I do think, obviously, those sorts of things add to the experience.
Gotcha. So I agree. We went to somewhere. It's a brand in the city, and they had a pop-up event for Pusha T. And I will try to, for our visual audience, try and put a couple pictures up that we were able to take. They had a car there, like an old school. Um, the name is escaping me. Almost like the car that Denzel drove and what's that movie?
Training Day.
Training Day. I cannot think of the name of the car.
Impala?
Nah, it's not an Impala. I can't think, but they had that outside. There was someone there with a dog. Like it was like going to a trap house. One way in, one way out. They had bricks. Oh, I don't have the brick. Well, for our visual people, I'll take a picture and add it. But I got a brick from the Pusha T event. Keep your notifications on. Might be doing an unboxing. Hint, hint. But like I said, there was. Yes, I agree with the logistical problems 100%. That sucked. The Earth stage sucked. The ability to walk through, although it was not great, it was not to me that bad. Was it a situation where, from what we heard from other people, once you got in a place you didn't want to move because it was difficult? Yes, I did hear that. But I also saw people moving pretty consistently. Also, when you're at a festival, sometimes you have to make some sacrifices. You got to make decisions. And maybe you got to get there a little earlier. You might have to stand a little long. Like, there are certain things and concessions you're going to have to make. And if you've never been to a festival, maybe you're not aware of what that's going to come with. If you think you can just come, pull up a chair, and sit somewhere and watch all your favorite performers, like that's just not reality if you want to get close. If you want a comfortable seat, you can stand a couple 100 feet back and watch them in a massive screen. But yeah, I just thought from what I saw, when you partner with Cisco, UPS, and Google, like that tells me what you're working with. Excuse me. So I don't know. I get some of the outrage, but I think there was a lot of good that's being overshadowed and not being discussed enough. And I think that's a disservice, and it kind of sucks because Pharrell seems like a dope person that wanted to put on a good event for the people, bringing out, like you said, he could have ignored, DC. They incorporated Go-Go. They didn't shy away from Go-Go. They had a whole experience with Go-Go and a conversation on its history. Like they leaned into a lot of the history and the culture there, and they spoke a number of the artists spoke to it. And so I just feel like a lot of that's being under discussed, and I get it. There was one issue, and for a lot of people that was a big issue, but for me, I had a blast. I saw a bunch of people I had never seen. I saw a bunch of people I wanted to see. Did I miss some people? Yes, but the great news is there's other festivals. So when you got to make a decision, go to another festival. Like you got to pick and choose sometimes. But I did like the events, and I told her when we was walking, like that's the part of the event that I really liked. One of the reasons I really enjoyed Coachella was because of all the different pop-up things they had. The Frito-Lay house, the American Express house, the Antarctica set, what was that stage? Mountain Dew, I think, might have been the stage, or whatever we went to. Heineken House. That stuff is also really important. The Ferris wheel. So I think they tried to incorporate that. They had a couple things you could take pictures in front of. And I just think it's going to take time. But I'm ultimately optimistic. I think it will continue to get better and better. I hope it becomes a staple. I think the tough part is if they try and they're going to have to find a new location because they can't bring it back as it stands. I do 100% agree with that. That location doesn't work. I think they have the mind to find a place, and I think they did as much as they could with the location. Like, I never had to wait to use the bathroom. I rarely had to wait to get water refills. I didn't have to wait to go to my locker. I think we waited maybe a max the first day, maybe 25 minutes to get in, something like that. So we got in and out. We got out easy as you want. Getting in was super easy. Like, outside of, like I said, walking back and forth, it wasn't that bad. But I think most festivals are going to be like that because they're not going to be as expansive as something that's out in the middle of nowhere. When you're in a city, I think for that volume in our city, I think it's going to be tough. So I wish them the best. I think they will be better. And I ultimately had a good time. Like, if for people that are focusing on that, you can, but I think you're selling yourself short on how great of an opportunity you had. And I just enjoyed it. So as far as the performances, what would you say was your favorite artist of each day, and then overall?
I would say Usher was my favorite on Friday. His performance was just so good. It definitely made you want to go and see his set, his what is it? His residency in Vegas. He didn't do any of the roller skate stuff, which was a little disappointing. I think everybody was kind of hoping he'd come sliding out on the skates, but it was great listening to him sing these songs that I've been listening to my whole life, basically. It was my first time ever seeing Usher, so that probably plays a part in him being my favorite that night. Saturday, I would have to say Pharrell, but it's easy Pharrell, because he brought out so many people. And again, I got to see a bunch of songs. Like, I've never seen Justin live, so
Really?
that I always miss him somehow. I enjoyed to see that little snippet of his performance.
He beat his feet.
Oh yeah, like, I love Justin so much, but don't do that again. Like, that river dance movement thing that he was doing, that was not beating your feet. And as soon as somebody said it, like, I was like, somebody please put the camera on his feet so I can see what his feet are actually doing.
He didn't even sound comfortable saying that. Easy beat your feet.
No. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was good old Justin.
But I get it. I was surprised that he did Rock Your Body, considering his last. I don't know if he's done that in front of an audience of Black people that big since the whole Janet situation. And there's still a lot of Black folks that are upset with him
that attended the festival.
I mean, like,
that would have put those two together, because I didn't even think about that till you just said something.
Oh really? Oh no, yeah.
I'm just not the biggest fan for my own reasons, but
yeah.
That song, I didn't even think about that till you just said that.
Yeah, I don't know how many times he's performed it in front.
I like he performed it with her though.
I know, but people still feel a way about that.
Okay, I'm with you. I hear you.
Yeah, like, that was dope. I think on Sunday, my favorite would have to be, and that's hard because, like, Tyler was really, really good. Post was really, really good. Push's set was really good. I don't know who my favorite was over on Sunday, and I don't know who overall would be either. I guess I would lean Pharrell, maybe Usher overall. I don't know. It's hard. That's what I said. The performances were A1.
So you're not gonna pick?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about it a little bit more.
Okay. So no, I agree with you. Friday night, Usher, phenomenal. Like, I think the biggest part for me with a lot of this, with festivals and music, is when you know the songs. When you can sing along with the song, is different. And I'm gonna get to that on Sunday. My Sunday pick, but he did the hits. Like, he did the hits. He danced. He brought out Eric Bellinger, who I enjoy, and they had a good time. He did the songs all of the songs I would have wanted to see, and he performed well. We had a light post in the way that night, so it had a little bit of an issue, but ultimately I was impressed. Sunday, Pharrell, like, seeing clips back together.
Saturday.
What did I say?
Saturday.
Seeing clips back together was it for me. I was very disappointed that they didn't do. I can't think of the song. Push's album. They're together and Pray for Me, I think is what it's called. I really, really like that song, and I really wanted them to do it, and they didn't. What else? Yeah, I would say that. And then to your point, Sunday was tough, but I'm going to lean Push because I knew the words, and his set was longer. If Post's set would have been longer, and I would have got a Hollywood Bleeding, Post would have been the best. But Push's crowd control, and that was one thing I will say I experienced maybe more in this from Coachella that I saw. You can see the difference in who's a better performer. Like, Denzel Curry's not as big of a name, but me personally, I thought he was a much better performer than Moneybagg. Like, certain people are just engaging in the audience and their rapport that they build with the audience. And I think those are the people that typically have those rabid fan bases. Like, Push's fan base is Push's fan base. But I think that's because of the way he performed his set. Snow performed her set well, but there wasn't this kind of crowd engagement. And I also saw that with like 21 Savage, where the artists I think that were comfortable being performers walked down that stretch.
Yeah.
Post was out there, Black was out there, Push was out there, Clips was out there, 21 stayed. Pharrell, for the most part, stayed because I don't know that they're super comfortable in the people like that. I think Denzel Curry at one point said, I'm not getting back up on the stage. Like, I want to be down here with the people. Didn't make great for the people that couldn't see because the camera couldn't see down into there. But
Uzi was that way too.
Uzi was another one that are just performers. And I would say the epitome of that for me was Tyler. As a performer, Tyler was amazing.
Yeah.
I was on here and I kind of gave him some grief for his album because he went up against Donda, and Donda was just a better album. I don't care. But as a performer, I don't know how long that set was, but it was way longer than an hour. Or it felt way longer than an hour.
It was.
I was to the point like, yo, the train stopped running at 11:30. He didn't stop performing before 11:30.
Yeah.
So, like, there was clearly no decision to, hey, I'm gonna help y'all get to the train. He just kept playing songs. But they were great. His energy was there. His ability to rap. He was doing the Running Man dancing. He had the whole stage set up. He had his get up on. He had his hat. Like, he was cool. And it wasn't one of those things where it was like filler time. Like, there were certain artists that would do the callbacks that were just trying to like fill time because they don't got that many songs. Like, his performance, I think, was the best performance. I leaned to Push because I knew more of the songs, so it hit different. But if I was a Tyler fan, I would have loved that Tyler set.
Yeah, for sure.
He brought energy that was matched by few, if any.
The whole weekend, yeah.
The whole weekend. So that was really cool, and I have a greater appreciation. And I think we both talked about my expectation was high. Like, I'm not the biggest Tyler fan as a rapper, but as an artist and as a creator, I knew he was going to do something, and he did something different.
Yeah.
And he did it really well.
That was me too. Like I'm a casual Tyler the Creator fan. I would say I probably watched his TV show on Cartoon Network more than anything.
Which I did not know he had.
Lorder Squad. Because some friends of mine put me on to it. And again, like I originally did not listen to him a lot because he was just weird to me. Like
so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I agree with you. Yeah. I thought he was weird.
Yeah.
But as a performer, he was normal.
No. As a performer, he's dope.
Like he was black. Like I didn't really see him as like urban black.
Well, no. That's not weird. That's not the weird I'm talking about.
That's the weird. Like I saw him dressing and doing some stuff. He sounded like him and Push could be friends. Like his way he talked and carried himself was a lot more black than I thought he would be. But that's just me. Sorry. Continue.
A lot more black. It's cool. I know how you be feeling. But I just didn't listen to him, just because he was weird. Like his lyrics were like, I don't know. I'm gonna just set this over to the side. But he's had some songs that I really like. But I knew when I saw that he was gonna be here, I wanted to watch his set because I've always heard that his shows are really, really good, and he definitely didn't disappoint. It was also just really cool watching the people who love him, like the kids who are out there, the people who are out there who were big fans. Like they were super into it, and I was just watching, and I wonder if this is what I look like when I'm watching like J. Cole perform, because like I'm singing every word, I'm dancing, I'm yelling all the lyrics, like I am like completely like invested, ingrained, like intertwined into the performance. So I need to like have somebody like video me while I'm watching him or something, so I can look back and watch and see how different or the same I act as Tyler Creator fans. But that same, and you got that same energy from the fans from Lil Uzi too. Like his fans, they came out there and they were ready. I wish we had have been able to see Calvin Harris and Jay Blavin, because I heard their sets were really good. The people that I talked to who did watch said they did a really, really good job. I don't listen to Jay Blavin though, so I wouldn't have known. I mean, I don't, there were people we saw this weekend that I don't listen to, but we watched their sets because we didn't want to move from our spots and get lost in the crowd. So because the performances, like I don't have any complaints for the performances. Like they were all really good.
No, I think we can agree on that. I'm not gonna say who I think was the worst. That's rude.
Who was your worst performer?
For me, it was Tierra. I just wasn't really into it. The get up, the content, the performance. I thought her DJ was hyper than she was. It just didn't really do it for me.
It didn't do it for you.
And I'm like I said, in this, I know y'all might think I'm like anti-woman or something, but I wasn't. I thought Tiana Taylor was amazing. Like, so the flip side to the Tyler's energy is Tiana was singing, but Tiana was dancing. Chloe and Halle, they didn't really do no dancing. They kind of held hands. They kind of did their little thing. Tiana was out there doing like full dance routines while performing and singing, and then she brought her daughter out.
So that was so cute.
So I thought that was just really dope. And then like once they got Chloe's mic fixed, I thought their performance was good. But Tierra, she just didn't do it for me. And I don't want to say I was disappointed, but the snow set just didn't hit as much, just because I don't think once she got going, it was cool, but she missed a couple songs I really wanted to hear, and we couldn't hear them because of the mic.
I think, and so for me, it's always hard to see R&B artists at festivals. The difference between, I think, Snow set at Coachella versus Snow set at Something in the Water is the
venue,
the stage setup. Snow was in a tent at Coachella. There was way less people that were able to see her. Like, it was enclosed, so the sound was like A1. It was way more intimate, and I think that Snow music lends itself better to a more intimate setting. And then when you throw in the factor that the sound wasn't right, like, I think that definitely took away from the experience of her performance. But I think she still did a great job.
So that brings me, I agree with you. And I'm still obviously Team Snow all day. But I think the consistent theme in that is, to your point, I think it's hard for an R&B, or I'll say just a singer. I think it can be really difficult for a singer at a festival because the stage is so big if you don't have another skill or talent. If you can't, now I think it was Masego that played the saxophone.
Masego was up there doing everything. He played.
So he was the one that played. Yeah. So
he played the saxophone.
The drums. He threw out roses.
What was it? The
synthesizer, piano thing.
And he did a lot.
So when you can be Usher and sing and dance, when you can be Tiana Taylor and sing and dance, when you can be Alicia Keys and play a piano, while also, like, when you have her, when you can play a guitar and the drums, and you're not just standing there singing to a vast audience where the sound is not going to stay in, I think it does them a disservice. So that's why I felt like Ari Lennox didn't do as much. Even Giveon, I think, didn't hit the same way as Masego, because you got to be able to do more when it's that big of a stage. And so when you get, the Harry Styles or the people that's running around or doing more, I think it lends to aid their performance. If you don't have, like, now if you have the banger music like 21 Savage, you can just stand there and the beat is going to help carry you. Typically when you're singing, it's not, people ain't waiting for the beat to drop. Like, you're being played on by the voice, and if the voice ain't there for whatever reason, I think it hurts the performance. So
I thought 21 was dry. Like, I thought he was going to be more energy, but he was real, like, the way his voice sounds is like him, just monotone and dry.
100%. But I think his sound
people
made up
like
for
him.
it.
Yeah.
But just even in the comparing the two performances, you can get away with it a bit if you have the sound behind you. And when you're a singer, typically you're not going to have the sound. Your voice is the sound.
Yeah.
And if your voice ain't there and you ain't moving and you ain't walking up and down engaging, like, I think it gets tough. But once she got her mic better, it was better. And Chloe and Halle did better. I thought once their mics got situated, it just, we missed a good amount of it. So, yeah. The other part is, if y'all haven't been paying attention, there's a ton of festivals going on. People are either on tour or at a festival, or both. Her is currently doing both as we speak. As is, I think someone else I saw had a tour, but they're on at different festivals. But what we get to do, and I don't know if this is better or worse, we get to kind of compare, because we saw people at Coachella, we saw people at Something in the Water. For me, I liked Snow set, obviously, at Coachella better. I think I liked Lil Baby's performance and set list better at Something in the Water, but I liked his stage setup better at Coachella. Obviously, it was a bigger stage. You can do more, so that's just what you get. 21 was kind of the same. I thought his performance at Coachella was still similar. We didn't see as much of it.
I was going to say, like, I barely remember his performance at Coachella. Like, again, I'm not a huge 21 Savage fan. It's only recently that I've even started attempting to listen to his music. And, low key, I still don't think he's the greatest rapper. But I think there's definitely been a lot of improvement over the last few years on some of his verses, especially some of his featured verses. Obviously, I'm a J. Cole fan, so I liked his verse on my life on the off season.
Mm-hmm.
But I there's a lot of his performance from Coachella I just don't remember. And I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure I know why. I just wasn't paying that close attention. I wish we had seen JID. Like, he was there, and I really would have liked to have seen him, but we are going to Days in Vegas, so I'll see him and pretty much all of the rest of Dreamville there. So we'll see. I did catch the tail end of Earth Gang's performance and watched that on one of the screens. And they didn't have their own set at Coachella, but they did have come out and do a few songs with JID. So it was cool to see, that. And I'm hoping to see them full-fledged, like, rock out at Days in Vegas. I would say, because Denzel Curry was at, wasn't he at Coachella? Oh no, that was Isaiah Rashad. Who was?
I thought Denzel might have been there too.
Isaiah Rashad was on.
He was definitely at Coachella.
On stage when we were in the Ferris wheel.
No.
Who was that?
You said who?
Isaiah Rashad.
No, Isaiah Rashad was the one that had the intro video.
But that wasn't who was on when we were on the Ferris wheel? Don't remember.
I don't remember. I could try and pull.
I thought it was Isaiah Rashad, but it's not a big deal. But and then the thing about it is, like, we're going to see some of the people that we saw. Like, you're going to see Lil Baby again at the One of Them Ones tour with him and Chris Brown.
For sure. So
you'll have a whole nother set to compare it to. Like, Lil Baby is out here working, y'all. I don't know what his diet is or what he's doing to maintain his life while he's on every song on.
Just real quick, Denzel Curry was at Coachella.
So,
and he was last at the Sahara. So I think it was him.
So it must have been him. Mm-hmm. I know it was either him or Isaiah Rashad.
Isaiah Rashad was the night before, but Isaiah went on before 21.
Okay. But I liked Denzel's set there, but I didn't pay as much attention to it because we were going.
And it was the end of the day on the last day.
And we were exhausted.
And I was beat.
Yeah, we were exhausted. I mean, for what it's worth, we came home yesterday and it was just like, everybody go to bed. Don't talk to me. Don't touch me. My legs are on fire. I think my ankle is broken, or I did something to my ankle because it ain't been right since we got home. I've been trying to stretch it, but it is just not cooperating. And it's like, these are the hazards of getting old and still trying to do young people things.
Very true.
But it was worth it because, I mean, overall, like I said, I had a really good time. I definitely think... I would definitely go again. Well, let me not say definitely.
I was about to say.
Because definitely is real absolute and firm.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I need to see, one, where they're having it. Two, if there are VIP upgrades available, because I think Coachella has spoiled me a little bit to the experience that you get when you pay a little, just a little extra.
Like 5-6 times as much. What do you mean?
Look, sir, there's some options that I think they need to explore, to improve the experience. But even still, I think I would go because I would want to be able to compare it and see if they do better. And then if I went and it was still not up to par, then I just wouldn't mess with it for a while until they got it together.
Question. You said you did Made in America. What other festival have you been to in a major city?
Lollapalooza.
At any of those, do they allow you to stay on grounds?
What do you mean?
Like Coachella has the camping. The festivals out in the woods be having the camping component.
Yeah.
Do any of the city festivals, do they have any of that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Because I think that would also have been nice. Now in the
to
city,
camp.
if you could have camped out, so imagine you get to wake up on the mall and walk to the festival.
No,
What do you mean no?
it just
Make it nice camping, but you said how much space they got. Take up that they could have put there.
that would be interesting because, and I think you say that because you've never seen what the campgrounds are like, but they would be limited to what they'd be able to provide people camping. Like,
what do you mean?
And then typically
Limited
festivals that allow camping, they allow a couple different types of camping. Like you can go out in the field, set up your tent and your little area.
So
and then,
close to the gate would be the super nice camping because those people would pay more. Closer to the monument, maybe even down to, I know that's a long walk from the tidal basin. But I think you could incorporate that. There's a bunch of grass there.
I don't know.
And I'm saying in general with city things, I don't know if that would be an option. But
I don't think it is.
I think that's missed. From a festival standpoint, my idea of what festivals were was going into the middle of the woods, people doing crazy drugs, listening to great music, camping, just peace and love. It's not Coachella. What's the other one?
You thinking about Woodstock?
Yeah, that's my idea of what festivals are supposed to be like.
And some festivals are like that. Like the festival that I went to in England, like the first year we camped. And
you hated it though.
No, I by the end of the weekend, I was over it and I was ready to sleep in a bed and take a regular shower and use modern plumbing. Like there are aspects of camping that I think you have to do it when you're younger because you're gonna complain a lot less when you're older.
I agree. 100%.
But I do highly recommend camping for a festival if you ever get the opportunity. It's like you leave from the shows, all of the performances. Typically the night is over by like midnight with the performances, but you go back to the campgrounds and it's a whole nother party. Everybody's out there with their music and people are socializing. It's just a whole different kind of vibe. But at the same time, like you can shower, but it's not the greatest at the places that do offer showers. And then a lot of those festivals that do offer camping, they have like car camping or, RV. You can't do that kind of stuff in the city.
Which is fine. You got to use what you can.
So I think that I don't think city landscapes are the best for camping for festivals, personally.
If they would have let us, based on what we had to do Sunday night to get home, if I could have just walked to a tent.
But that's the thing, Sunday night. Oh, well, no, because they let you stay that one night, but then you got to get your stuff out the next morning. Yeah. I'm trying to tell you, it's not.
If you pay to be in the tent that they provide, you don't.
Oh, no, yeah, that kind of stuff for sure.
I'm not talking about that weird camping that Nature Man does.
No, I'm not talking about that either, bruh. So Coachella, again, that's
AC, electric. Yeah, and I don't got to put it up.
Yeah, but all festivals don't even offer that.
I'm talking about what they could have done.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about what doesn't happen at other places. I'm saying for them, I think as an additional revenue source to help potentially with crowds, I think that would have been, I think there was space to do that. Or next year, give us the mall for the performances, stick all the tents on Independence and build them up or make them nice or whatever, or keep Independence as the merch place or whatever and fill that up with other stuff or activities and then leave the music and the stages on the mall. Not my final take, but one of my last takes I will say is this. The city also failed this festival, in my opinion.
100%.
On two massive fronts. One, Metro's trash.
But it has been for a really long time.
And I 100% understand that. But you cannot expect on the last night of a festival to have the last train run at 11:30. That's absurd. Like, that's willful ignorance and neglect. And I'm glad that no reports have come out that anything happened to anyone. But you were asking for potentially tens of thousands of people. They had to make a decision on staying at the festival and watching probably some of the people they paid to perform the most. I'm sorry, people that they paid that they wanted to see the most, because that's the headliner. You shouldn't be forced to leave the headliner of a show because of a train. Because when you got that many people in that tight of an area, we had to walk for a while to get outside of the zone where even Uber could come get you. Not to mention the surge pricing and the price gouging and all that you have to deal with. So that to me is a failure on the city. I would also say if they couldn't provide the Smithsonian, or I'm sorry, the mall that weekend, pick a different weekend. Or move the folk festival. They don't need to be on the mall for Juneteenth. Put the black people there. Like, let's just keep it 100. Like, I don't care if they maybe even paid more. If this is about culture, this is about your people, this is about celebrating Juneteenth, give us the best environment where the most Juneteenth people that really care about it would be at. So DC, I think y'all really dropped the ball on that. That was really disappointing. And we stayed, but we had to make decisions. And every night, and that's the other part I do want to give Something Order credit for. Their communication leading up to the event, I did not like. I kept waiting for, and then the new sets will come out late, but as far as the map, as far as the app, there's a bunch of stuff came out in the last like 2 or 3 days. Seems like by design. But what I would say is, DC, you gotta do better. Like, as much as maybe Pharrell was ill prepared for how to use the setup, DC proved to me that they weren't ready to have that kind of event either. Or they blatantly did it to make life miserable for certain people, and that to me is even more of an indictment. Because there's no way you thought that would be the case. And I don't know, and I'm guessing it's the same thing for the Nationals every Sunday when they have games, but their games usually over by 10 because they start at 7. So that was just it was disgusting that you forced people who stood in the heat and sun all day to have to potentially walk that far to pay for a ride home because you cut off transit. Like, that's trash on every level. And I haven't heard a ton of people talk about it, but that to me was really disgusting that y'all did that and forced people to make that decision and didn't accommodate those people. You had anything as far as next year? You've mentioned that you would go back and then you kind of backpedaled. So what 3 things would have to change for you to be gung-ho about going back next year?
They have to change the location or give them more space in the same location. It didn't make sense. I didn't like it. It definitely, affected my experience there, and it left a poor taste in my mouth. So, like, that is number one, definitely needs to be addressed. 2, they need some tiered options. I think a big part of it is, again, it's been 2 years since they had the original one. They had a whole new location. I think they were trying to gauge out how many people were going to come, how much people were willing to spend to come. I think now that they've seen that they can get the numbers, and they hear the complaints or the things that people want, hopefully they come out with like a VIP option or some sort of package upgrade, that gives you better stage viewing areas. I I was actually surprisingly surprised by the porta potties. Like most of the, almost every time I went, they were clean, or clean-ish. Uh, but those are really just the two things. Like I don't even necessarily. They don't have to move the weekend. It's not necessarily sucks as there's just a factor in for you because that would always be like Father's Day weekend. So you'd have to, kind of decide if you're gonna hang out with your kids or not for Father's Day. But overall, like I would consider going again, just depending on how they, advertise it and all the logistical stuff is fixed.
I agree. I think those are the two obvious tiering. And for what it's worth, in that space, kick UPS and Cisco out and make them tower things VIP. Like I would have been comfortable with that. Maybe make it longer and not as tall. I don't know. But definitely need a VIP option. Something. And then location, yeah. I don't even think you have to widen it. I think you need use of the mall. I think for me it's just that simple. You can put 2 stages on the mall, put the shops in the 3rd stage on Independence, and you have a blast. The walk's not that far in between stages. Like I just think if they added one more street, it makes a world of difference. And they didn't have that. So you fix those 2 things. I think that helps a lot. And then there was something else I was going to say. And it's gone. Security was solid. As people were dropping, they got them out of there
because they was dropping.
And
that is something like.
And they figured out a way to get to them.
I have no idea what people were on or what people were doing, but I saw more people like in Dire Straits at something in the water than I think I did the whole time at Coachella.
But I think a lot of this and this kind of recurring theme is, I think a lot of those people were new. They were new to festival life.
Ooh,
and
boy, did it show.
You just don't know what you're getting yourself into. And I think a lot of people that are really, really out on it have never been to a festival. Because from what I've seen and from what I've heard from other ones, and obviously my biggest point of reference is Coachella, and I will be very curious to hear or see what Day in Vegas is like. Because I've heard they've had similar problems in the past, not having enough water in Vegas. And so they sent out a number of things that they've checked that they're saying that they're going to improve this time around. And I just think that's what Something in the Water needs. So one, it's a Black business that supports Black business. I wear Billionaire all the time. I would love to wear Human Race more, but that crap's expensive. Ice Cream, I'm a fan. Pharrell gets a lot of my money, not as much as Kanye, but Pharrell probably gets about the second most amount of money that I spend on fun clothes and stuff.
Okay.
So I do what I can to support, and I think he just seems like a really dope individual.
I agree.
And I want him to win, and I think they will win. I think they will take the feedback to heart. There's plenty of it, and I think that's important. I don't want this to come off as that people shouldn't be complaining, because there were some legitimate issues that need to be fixed. And so if they have it next year in the same location, the same setup, then I'm going to have a very different perspective going into next year, because they got some stuff to fix. Let me be very clear. But no, I was pleased. I'll give it a B. The communication was great. The food you said was great. They had some really good local vendors there.
Mm-hmm.
Performances were great. The lineup was one of the best lineups I've seen this year. Regardless of whoever, I think there was a great mix of different people. Dave Matthews, Calvin Harris, but you also have Push. You also have Tyler. You got women, Sabrina Claudio, Snow. So to bring all of those
Yeah,
names to DC is important. There was another. Maybe what that was Sabrina. There was somebody else that I saw perform look like they had a good show. That was woman. I can't think of her name.
Davida, a woman.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't hear about DeVito. I heard that was on Earth Stage. So you heard it was good.
I heard his performance was all right.
I've heard he's a great performer, but we wasn't going to Earth Stage, and I wasn't missing push, or losing my spot for that.
That's the part, is losing your spot.
Yeah, because we was on the fence, and maybe one day we'll give you some festival tips on how to festival great, because I think we did a pretty good job of how we move and navigate. That could be useful to people and give them a better experience. But
let us know if you want festival tips or things to do, festival essentials to bring. Like, that actually would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've been to enough that I think I have a solid system.
Sometimes a longer walk means a much shorter wait. So you just got to figure out what you want to do. But shout out to Pharrell, the whole group, the whole team. Thank you to DC for allowing him to come here, even though it sounds like you didn't make it very pleasant for him. Hopefully, and if DC treated him like that and he left Virginia Beach, I can only imagine what Virginia Beach must have been doing.
I mean,
they must have been on some extra BS.
Well, no, you know why he left from Virginia Beach. Like,
that's what I'm saying. They was just the county or the government people was just messing with him and wouldn't work with him. And DC wouldn't either on a lot of things, but it sounds like they did on a lot of things also. It's from my understanding, unless you know something more I don't.
His cousin was killed by a police officer.
Yeah, but it was still on. The response to that is what. That's what I'm saying.
It's what. So that's what I'm saying. The government
made him
pull from Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Losers.
And that's just politics being politics.
Another conversation for another day.
Keep the notifications on, because Drake did drop an album, and you guys know we did not talk about it today.
There's a versus coming up. We are going to share some more content from the festival. We took a lot of pictures. We took a lot of video. Somebody needs to look at all that. We have a few more shows coming up here in the next month.
The next month?
Yeah.
What's the next month?
Chris Brown and Lil Baby.
That's that's July.
Dirk is when?
October. It's late.
Dirk is October.
Jack is October.
Okay.
I think Kendrick
Lamar is in August.
And then Day in Vegas is
Days in Vegas and Labor Day weekend.
And Justin Bieber, I'll just keep waiting for you to reschedule again. Hopefully not 2 years from now, like last time, but guess I'll just wait and see.
You will. You'll get to see him one of these days.
And on that note, in life, things happen. You have the power to choose what you do. Choose wisely. Always bet on you. If you've appreciated what we've done here, like, share, and subscribe. We're on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. And if you want to contribute, you see I don't have it scrolling, but you know what to do. Scroll back and look earlier. And actually, for our listeners who may want to contribute that can't see, it is $ RayDaBest at Cash App, PayPal. We need to update that. Is rbond4788@gmail.com, and our Venmo is at Ray-Bond. So we definitely need to get those things updated so you don't think it's all going to me, because trust me, it ain't. Yeah, I wish. But yeah, just continue to try and improve this thing. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Happy Father's Day to the fathers. Happy Juneteenth. Freedom-ish. And we'll catch you guys next week, or maybe during the week. Take care.